been a very interesting process, and certainly one that I would say is not over. But going into free agency, when the free agency period started in November, I had very little, if any, interest. That was probably the most significant driver in wanting to take on this challenge. Once we saw the progress that was being made, we realized that it would make a lot of sense to throw for scouts in January and see if I could garner some interest that way. Had, I think, 15 or 20 teams represented at a showcase in January, and from that got, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 offers, to come into camp with no guarantees, but to have the chance to put this kind of into an in vivo setting, right? We'd worked in the lab for a while, and now it was time to face hitters and get results and see how this was going to play, in a competitive environment. This kind of mentality, this idea, this willingness to constantly try and improve was something that the Twins recognized could be a very valuable asset to an organization that was young and maybe on the verge of becoming a competitive team. So it came into spring training and immediately got great feedback. First bullpen that I was throwing, I think one of the catchers said I was the toughest guy to catch in camp. Had not faced hitters yet, so that was probably the single biggest obstacle to overcome. All of this worked great on paper, it looked great in an Excel spreadsheet, but what would happen when Joe Mauer stood up there and told me what he saw, and the feedback was great. Guys were talking about late movement, late sink, deception, the inability to pick up the ball, and that carried over once we started playing games. Had a really good spring, and ended up making the opening day roster.